After betrayal, people often start asking, how bad was it really? They want some perspective. They want to know if it was pornography, if it was a one-night stand, if it was emotional, if it was physical, if there was any physical contact, or if there was just messages. But underneath those questions is something else, like an assumption that the type of betrayal determines how much pain is actually justified. For the betrayed partner, that question can actually feel like a trap. She already feels alone and destabilized. And now she's aware that other people might be quietly judging whether her reaction fits the situation. Maybe it was pornography. Maybe it wasn't a long-term affair. But her body doesn't care about the category. It only knows that something sacred collapsed. She's been living in a story that suddenly turned out to not be true, and then the bottom falls out. Meanwhile, the person who breaks the trust often tries to offer perspective as some kind of reassurance. I mean, they mean well most of the time, but it lands as minimizing. They might say things like, it wasn't physical, or it was just online, or it could have been worse. But what they don't realize is that every attempt to calm the pain through explanation widens the distance between them. So here's the question. Does perspective really matter? Does it help her heal at all, or does it quietly invalidate what she might be feeling? And if perspective does matter, how do we talk about it? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today.
If your relationship has been shattered by betrayal and you feel stuck and lost, you're in the right place.
This is From Crisis to Connection, a closer look at the process of how couples in crisis transform betrayal into healing, rejuvenating connection.
Every episode, we dissect the healing journey so you can understand what actually works and what you can do to thrive again.
You'll step onto a clear path toward personal wholeness and vibrant partnership.
We are your hosts, Jeff and Jody Stewart. So we're going to look at this from three angles. First, how the betrayed partner experiences judgment, both from others and from inside herself, when her pain looks too big for the situation. Then, we're going to look at how the recovering partner uses perspective to manage shame and fear, often without realizing how disconnected it sounds. And finally, we're going to look at what happens to the couple when perspective becomes a battleground instead of a bridge. We'll talk about what perspective is actually for, when it becomes helpful, and what needs to happen before it can do any good.
All right, when it comes to perspective, I honestly think that in my experience, most betrayed partners really don't care about that in the aftermath of betrayal. They might ask some questions to understand what it is.
Yeah, I could get an idea of the scope.
But their motivation for understanding what it is not coming from the same place as the person who hurt them.
Oh, no, because their pain is they're already dealing with the monumental pain.
Right.
They're not wondering, well, how upset should I be?
Exactly.
Oh,
right.
I'm there. So the questions are, probably to understand the magnitude logically.
Yeah. Well, this is where I think a lot of the times if they open up to anyone, like a therapist, a church leader, clergy, family or friends, or even just read something like in a magazine or whatever, the comparisons will start. You know, it's like they'll hear somebody else's story, or even like in a 12-step group, they might hear somebody else just say, well, at least it wasn't fill in the blank. There's always something worse. And so I think betrayed partners often live in a world of, so is my reaction just too oversized because, again, at least he didn't whatever, and it could have been this. And I think that adds to the crazy making, that somehow there's a certain kind of behavior that has a certain kind of reaction. Like if you have this, if your partner does this to you, this is the kind of reaction you should have. And let's keep everything in check here, and let's make sure your reactions aren't too big or too small. And that's crazy making for a betrayed partner. around just the behavior, right?
Okay, yes, I can totally see that. That like a betrayal to their intimacy is a betrayal.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to say, just as anybody who's just trying to be a regular functioning adult,
Mm-hmm.
it's smart. It's a good idea to go, okay. I mean, it wasn't that. This is going to help me kind of keep myself from spinning out of control, because that's not helpful to me or anybody else.
Yep.
So I do think to some degree that kind of talk can be good,
Right.
and not necessarily crazy making, but like to help you keep it within range.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I agree in general. I remember when our daughter got rear-ended recently.
Yeah.
Like one of your first responses to her after we made sure she was okay, and you looked at it and saw, oh wow, like the car got nicked a little bit. It wasn't, it was about perspective. It was like, wow, this was the best possible scenario. Even though it was kind of a hit and run, you looked at it and said, okay, you learned your lesson. Because in that case, for those of you, none of you know the story. So I'll tell you the story. She got in an accident. A lady rear-ended her, but the lady talked her out of giving the information.
Yeah.
And so our daughter froze. She's like 16, and she froze and didn't know what to do. And
relied on the adult in the situation.
And this adult, right, totally just manipulated her into just driving off. Anyway, but when she got home, you were like, okay, lesson learned. You're safe. The car's okay, and it's going to be fine. It could have been so much worse.
Yeah.
And weirdly, right, that was reassuring in a way to say, okay, the perspective does help here.
Yeah.
I don't think it would have been helpful as the first thing you would have said to her.
Okay, for sure. Right. Yeah, she's all in a panic. And I'm like, it could have been so much worse. Calm it down. Not helpful.
Yeah.
In the least. Okay, I see what you're talking about.
That's all I'm saying, is that I think sometimes we rush to perspective as a way to somehow manage the situation.
Yeah.
But I also think most betrayed partners that I've talked to, yes, they want to know exactly what happened, because they do want to know how bad it was. So I think the perspective, they're trying to understand. That's why we do disclosures. How big was this thing?
Yeah.
Like, how far did it go? Because, do I need to brace myself for the fact that you've done all this stuff, or was it this? So partners are searching for the scope of it.
Oh, yeah.
But when that's used as a way to tell them how they should respond,
okay,
that's when it becomes a problem.
Yes, which is then becomes crazy making.
Yes.
Because then they're having to like be measured about their response. So, and this pressure can come from their partner, but also from others, from other people who are in support roles, theoretically.
Right. Yeah, I think it's a pretty human tendency to want to decrease the intensity. I think most of us don't like intensity.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, that's how I see it. And so you get people that are just like, I mean, very few people will say like, calm down and quit. That happens.
Yeah.
But most of the time we do it in these other ways of like, well, at least, or it could have been, we do these things to create.
Oh, sometimes I hear myself doing that. Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's actually why I brought that up about our daughter, just to.
Seriously.
I didn't know how else
Are we having an intervention? Yeah. Okay, noted.
But it is a human tendency.
Yeah, and it's not helpful. It's not helpful. Some people just need to hear, I'm so sorry that happened to you. That's awful to feel like you can't trust somebody, or you turn your back and who knows what they're going to do. Now you see they're capable of things that were never on the table.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so the perspective of well, what actually happened, I just believe if it's not paired with any kind of compassion or accountability, then it's just a really a way to manipulate somebody into not hurting or to not hold you accountable. That's how I see it.
Okay.
And also the other part of this too for betrayed partners is their biggest wounds are definitely going to involve the behavior, like what happened, but it's usually more about the secrecy, the manipulation, the gaslighting, all the control that surrounds that. That keeps the person from having to face reality. that's the stuff that hurts so deeply in the relationship.
Yes. And so when it's being addressed with the partner and they just keep bringing more of that with the perspective kind
Approach.
of talk, with that approach, then that's the crazy making.
Yeah. Well, I just want betrayed partners to hear that you're allowed to have a big reaction to whatever the betrayal was. You know, it's okay. I just really don't think it's healthy to feel like you're supposed to have an approved reaction to something. I think the perspective eventually will come and you'll be able to figure out what this is for you. But certainly initially, and as you work throughout it, if you're having a lot of pain around something that somebody else would look at in their own life and say like, well, that wouldn't hurt me that bad.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't minimize for yourself either.
Yeah.
Or let messages like that tell you that those strong feelings shouldn't be happening because they don't go anywhere.
No.
And squashing them isn't helpful.
No. I work with so many betrayed partners who, let's say, grow up in families where, let's say, their dad was addicted to sex or had an affair or was really abusive or had lots of secrets or, you know, whatever. There's all kinds of ways that you can do damage in a family. And they come into the relationship really hyper attuned, hypersensitive, and almost bracing themselves for that this could be the reality, or promising themselves, I'll never let this happen. I'll pick somebody who'll never hurt me.
Yeah.
I will make sure this is not my family's reality.
Yeah.
And then something happens. It could be he's looking on Instagram and is following really trashy accounts. And she sees that, and her reaction may be so big that would be the same size reaction some other woman might have if her husband actually physically went out and had an affair. And that's where I think a lot of the times betrayed partners can feel crazy. Like, why am I reacting so strongly to this when other people are getting actually cheated on with physical, you know? And I just want to say it's okay. It's okay. Each person has a story and reasons that make sense for why this feels so strong in them. And people can get really, really blamey about like, well, it's purity culture, or it's just, you know, religious shame, or it's, you know, the women out there are just attacking men, or, you know, you can just hear all kinds of reasons why women might be responding so strongly to these things. And I just want to say, you have a story. There's a reason something's coming up really strongly. Get curious about it. There's reasons for it.
Yeah, allow it.
Yeah.
Yeah, give it room so it can be a tool.
That's right. Yeah, and I'm confident that perspective will come, and then it can serve a purpose as you start to get your emotional balance.
What is the best thing for a betrayed partner when she's navigating that early on and she's afraid to make room for the depth and the magnitude of those feelings because they feel so big, so unmanageable? It almost can feel like she'll just get lost in it and it will never go away because there's been betrayal.
Yeah, like wondering, what does she do with all the big feelings?
Yeah, yeah.
Letting herself feel what she needs to feel with it. Yeah, I mean, I think that's why sometimes people can use perspective as a way to pull themselves out of feeling what they need to feel. It can be used as a way to just say, well, I shouldn't feel that because it wasn't that bad.
Right.
So allowing yourself to feel the full weight of it takes a lot of courage, because I guess in my experience, people don't really trust or believe that they'll actually swing back up.
Right.
And in my experience, that's exactly what happens. It's like if we put a lid on it, then it doesn't get to follow the arc that I think it wants to take.
Yeah. So it really is a literal leap of faith there.
Always.
Just to trust that it's riding a wave.
Right.
That you're not just jumping down into a pit you won't be able to get out of.
Yeah. And I think that in all fairness, like everything, there's extremes. So you have some people that feel and never come out of it and just ruminate and get stuck. And there can be some mental health reasons for that. And I think you have to be honest about that and say, is that serving you? Is that really getting you the healing you need? And there's some people who will never look at it and won't feel anything. Most people, if they allow themselves to start to feel, will come out on the other side of it. And the perspective comes in, and the emotional balance, the needs, they get clear on what they need to do. I would just say allow yourself to feel what you need to feel, regardless of what kind of response you feel like you should be having.
Yeah. If you're the betrayed partner, you may have heard people tell you to get perspective. It was only porn. At least it wasn't physical. Those kinds of messages can make you question your own sanity. But your reaction makes sense. You're not responding to categories or behavior. You're responding to the collapse of safety, of truth, and of trust. Your body knows something sacred was violated. It's okay that it feels huge. You don't need to justify your pain or fit it into someone else's scale. Perspective can come later once you've been believed, once you feel safe again. For now, what matters is letting yourself feel what's true and giving it space to move through you. That's how perspective eventually finds you, not the other way around.
I think when it comes to the person who broke the trust, the motivation for perspective, in my experience, is primarily about damage control. For them to not hurt as bad or not be seen as a terrible person.
Yeah.
I mean, you could say it's about offering reassurance to the other person, but I think the primary motivation in my experience is really about wanting to minimize the damage they've created by, comparing it to what could have happened or basically what didn't happen. It's like,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. Just has an icky kind of manipulative tone.
It's funny when I'm helping guys write disclosures, full disclosures. One of the biggest tendencies in writing a disclosure for like guys is to put all the things in there they didn't do.
Really?
Yeah.
Because that discloses nothing.
Right.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, the fear of being seen as a monster because of what you did do. Yeah.
Right. So if they write something like, well, I looked at pornography, but I didn't look at these kinds of pornography, or I didn't, or I was chatting with this person, but I didn't do this and this and this and this. And so a lot of the times their motivation around perspective or around context, it certainly is about trying to create a range to understand how far it went. But I believe that just allowing your behavior to stand on its own, to me, is the more compassionate, accountable, and respectful way to do it, instead of using what didn't happen as a way to somehow get your partner to respond to you differently.
Yeah. Hard to do when you're in the wrong.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a human thing, right?
Yeah.
We all do it. We all do it. It's like, well, yeah, no, I did that, but like, I didn't do this.
Well, and like you were mentioning earlier, I mean, the difficulty of being accountable is one piece for sure, but there's also just the lack of skill we have as a culture for just being able to lean in closer to hard things. When emotions get amped up, then we have a tendency to just go, okay, yeah, it's cool, it's good, everything's cool.
Yeah, don't overreact. Like we try and just get some containment. So people don't. And I don't know what the fear is that.
Oh, I think we fear ourselves. I think that's what it is. We fear our inability to be able to deal with the magnitude of what might be coming.
Yeah, so we manage all the people around us. How about that?
Yeah.
So if you're the person who broke the trust and you're listening to this, I mean, I would just want them to know perspective does matter. I think it's important to tell the truth about what happened. And I believe betrayed partners are smart enough to figure out what didn't happen. Right?
Yeah. And maybe feel some gratitude and
Eventually.
relief.
Maybe eventually. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think people are smart enough to know this is all they said happened. This is the full scope of it. And
maybe it wasn't as bad as I anticipated or feared.
Sure. Yeah.
But
to lead with that as
Yeah, they need to be able to come to that on their own if that's a healthy part of their process.
Yeah.
And it may or may not be.
Yeah.
They should be able to determine that.
Yeah. Agency is huge here. Consent, respect. But this is so hard to do because the panic and fear of like, I don't want their brain to run away with it and start writing a bunch of narratives and fiction around
Right, the management.
Right. That's the fear. Yeah.
Yeah. And it may, but that's not your thing.
Yeah. And I'll just say this, and I'll say it with all the love of my heart to every person who's broken trust. You already were managing their perception through secrecy.
Yeah.
So stop managing. Stop managing their perception. Like, stop it. Just name what you did. Allow them to come to perspective on their own.
Is that the best way to go about it? Is just to lead with accountability in that way? Just name what you did and just let it be?
Well, yeah, because I think that if you start trying to fill all that in, you're basically telling them what they should think or feel.
Okay.
It's like if I say, I did this thing, I did this behavior, but I don't say all the things I didn't do.
Yeah.
You're smart enough to know. I mean, you know what I'm saying? And you can even ask if the betrayed partner wants to ask, well, did you do this? Then I can say, no, I didn't do that. That's very different than here's all the 30 things I didn't do. And the subtext is, and you should be super grateful I didn't do those. It can almost feel like a weird threat. Like I could have done that.
Oh, ew.
You know what I mean? You're lucky that I didn't do that. And I mean, nobody really, I mean, some people say that, but most of the time it's just implied like, hey, it could have been worse. So.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about the irony of not wanting to be seen as a monster and yet making yourself more of a monster by responding like that.
That's the trap. And I think that perspective can be weaponized so early on in a way that basically manipulates the other person's response and can be judgmental, shaming, threatening. It can have so many, I think, unintended consequences just out of a survival instinct to get yourself out of the intensity.
Yeah.
If you're the one who broke the trust, your instinct might be to offer perspective as reassurance. You might say things like, well, it wasn't physical, or I didn't go that far, hoping to calm things down or prove that you're not a monster. But those explanations never bring safety. Instead, they bring distance. You've already managed your partner's perception through secrecy, so don't keep managing it through explaining. The most powerful thing you can do right now is name what you did, own it fully, and stop trying to shape how she feels about it. Let her come to her own understanding in her own time. Perspective can matter later, but only after you've built enough trust for it to be heard. All right, so when you put these together and you have both people battling in a way over what to do with the perspective, which I think is often unspoken. I don't know any couple that's ever used the word perspective.
No.
We're using the word here to organize this.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But no, nobody's talking about that. But they're dancing around it.
Exactly. Right. It can almost turn the relationship into weirdly like a courtroom, where the person who broke the trust is trying to prove that they're not that bad.
Sure.
Like, okay, I mean, I did this thing, but it's more manslaughter than first-degree murder, right?
Okay,
Like,
sure.
It can turn into this whole thing of degrees of like, how bad am I really? And the betrayed partner's over there going like, yeah, but this horrible thing happened. And so
I have all these stab wounds.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
we got to talk about that.
Right. It kind of goes into that whole intention thing of like, your intention is, I mean, probably matters at some point, but really it's about caring for the person who's been hurt. That's where couples often get stuck is, and I think betrayed partners can also sometimes get pulled into, how should I be reacting to this? It's just this, whether they're telling themselves that or other people are telling them that. And that's an easy thing to collude with as the person who broke the trust, because you can be like, yeah, see, that's really about their own shame. I'm not that bad.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's just a really rough way to try and heal.
Yeah, that's not the healing path.
Mm-mm.
Because it's the person who did the damage requiring that in the relationship they organize around their pain, which technically they've been doing all this time with the lies and secrecy and stepping outside the marriage for intimacy.
Right.
Yeah, it just perpetuates the same disconnection. It's not the path to healing.
No, it's almost like there's this belief that the facts are more important than the feelings.
Oh my gosh, yes. And there's a tremendous amount of pressure on women around that.
Say more.
Because socially, I think women are supported in being better at navigating the emotional world. But they tend to be more affluent in it and understand it better and deal with it more, especially in relationships. And when men don't, they like completely discount it because to them it's unseen. That's very common.
Yeah.
Which totally just undermines the potential for connection and growth.
Right. In reality, a betrayed partner also has perspective. Their perspective of what this feels like, right? That perspective is just as important.
Oh, sure.
As a bunch of facts about what did or didn't happen.
Well, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess if you're finding yourself as a couple in that boat, then you might want to just pause and find a way to make room for each individual, to the betrayed partner especially, to just be able to have the experience that she's having, to just honor how she is affected by what happened.
That's right. Yeah.
Even if it's invisible.
Yeah. Right. And it's only invisible if you make it invisible.
Oh, yeah. I mean, technically, it's not invisible. It's everywhere in her body. She's feeling it very physiologically and mentally, and like it's very present. It's not invisible at all for her. But just because he may not be privy to that,
or open to
or
it,
paying attention, doesn't mean it's not there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So at the early stages, especially, it's really important for the couple to practice differentiation and allow, especially the betrayed partner, to come into the experience with the truth of how she's being affected by things.
That's right.
Regardless of what they were.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
When both of you get stuck arguing about perspective, the relationship starts to feel like a courtroom. One person trying to prove it wasn't that bad, the other trying to prove it was devastating. And you end up arguing about measurement instead of meaning. Perspective has its place, but not at the beginning. Early on, what heals is honesty, empathy, and consistency. Once both of you can stay present with what's real, perspective starts to come naturally. It stops being something you debate and becomes something that you share. That's when rebuilding trust begins.
If you're ready to rebuild connection after betrayal and you want something that helps you talk without getting stuck in analysis, You, Me, Us is a great place to start. It's actually a free PDF and video lesson we've created that helps couples practice safe, structured conversations that build understanding and trust. You can download it by clicking on the link in the show notes, and we'll send it to you immediately.
Before we sign off, we want to show you an example of couples doing the work of healing, learning, and growth. It doesn't matter where you are in your journey as a couple because the work never stops. It just changes.
So the example for today actually comes from a couple I was thinking about recently. And I shared this example with a couple I was working with in my office. And this is pulled from the archives of when I served as a church missionary in 1993, 1994 in the
Wow.
Dominican Republic. Yeah. So I did a 2-year service mission. I saw an example of a really healthy marriage thing I've never forgotten.
Okay.
And I wish I could say that I've practiced this with you in our marriage, but I haven't perfectly been good at it. But sometimes I think, certainly on this podcast, we talk a lot about the early recovery, the hard stuff, the crisis and getting all that. But this is an example of what I would consider to be just long-term, good, healthy marriage practices. And it was really touching to me as a young adult. And basically what happened was there was this guy named Tomas, and one time we were talking and he had an M&M.
Oh,
have I told you this story?
A lovely story. Yes.
Yeah. You remember this?
Yeah.
Yeah. I just remembered this recently. He had a peanut M&M that was half of a peanut M&M, and those things aren't very big.
No.
And he had it wrapped in a little napkin with a rubber band around it.
Oh, cute.
It was the craziest thing.
I love it. All protected.
Yeah.
Dominican style.
Yeah. And I was like, I'm like, what is that? Because it's weird looking. And he said,
must have been holding it in his hand or something.
yeah, we were talking and he was holding it in his hand.
Okay.
Right. And I'm like, is that like a tooth? It just looked weird. And he basically was like, oh yeah, my wife and I, we just made this agreement when we got married that anything that we ate that was fun or, desserty or whatever, the other would save half for their partner.
Just really beautiful sentiment. And the attention to detail around that, like the willingness to keep that commitment and share the joy with somebody to that extent is just remarkable.
Yeah, totally wild. And so here's a guy, I can't tell you how many handfuls of peanut M&Ms.
You owe me handfuls of peanut.
I don't have that many rubber bands. But it was just such a sweet sentiment and a commitment and a promise of, I will always share half of anything fun that I eat. And he did. And he brought her home this half of a peanut M&M.
That's
and who knows? She was probably like, that's disgusting.
Who knows
bit that
how
in
that
half.
went.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It just was always funny to me. Like, how would she react to that?
Yeah.
But the thought was so sweet. Yeah.
Yeah. And any of us can start that today.
Yeah. So whether that's literally saving half of whatever you do, but any sort of promise you make to your partner that you're going to think of them, take care of them, and it just sends so many signals, the layers of what that means to a relationship. It's just rich.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.